One of the scariest things about depression is this fear that will be forever damaged. I've often wondered, is it possible to go through depression and emerge a better version of yourself? Is there life after depression? I'm John Rottenberg. Let's go for a walk. And as we stroll on this beautiful trail in Ithaca, New York, there are 250 million people around the world who are struggling with depression. If you're one of them, these questions are pressing for you and for your inner circle, the people, your friends, your family, who are pulling you through it. These questions are pressing for me, and they're also very personal because I've been depressed. I was depressed for many years, and I've been on all sides of depression. I've been an inpatient, and I've been an outpatient. I've tried almost all the treatments that exist for depression. Medication treatments and psychotherapies. It got to the point where I almost gave up all hope. When I eventually got to the other side, I vowed that I would be a student of depression. And I have. I've been researching depression for the last 25 years. I'm now a professor of psychology at Cornell University, where I direct the Better Outcomes Laboratory. Our focus is on good outcomes after depression and other mental health problems. Now, this question of life after depression is challenging, not only because depression is scary, but because depression itself is ambiguous. It's not like depression announces its arrival. There's not an obvious first day, and you don't know when you're in the middle, and you don't know what's the last day. It's not like you can wake up one morning and declare, I beat depression. I did it. Because there's always this haunting sense that depression could come back. And it could come back. So, can we talk about life after depression? Some commentators say, no, we can't. People like Peter Kramer, who wrote Listening to Prozac, from a biological perspective, talk about depression as a set of defects. Defects in your brain, defects in your genes. And you could take medications. You could take medications for the rest of your life. It would mask the symptoms, but those defects, that vulnerability, that stays with you. That's always there. So there's this sense that you can't ever break free of depression. Not only is it possible it'll come back, but it probably will. Not only do I think that perspective is unduly pessimistic, I also think it's inaccurate. We've been analyzing data on large samples of people who have a history of depression. And what we're finding is that there's a substantial segment of people who not only recover from their disorder, but they go on to report high levels of psychological well-being. So that's things like the experience of positive emotions, satisfying relationships, and personal growth. I think what this is telling us is that not only is it possible to have life after depression, but it may be common, way more common than we previously thought, that people experience depression and go on to lead lives that are purposeful, that are meaningful, that are beautiful. Which brings me to why we're making this series, Ever After. To share this world after depression, I want to share it with all of you. Whether you're still struggling with depression or had it in the past, whether you're struggling with some other kind of life adversity or trauma, or whether you've recovered, whether you're on the other side of the storm. Your perspective is welcome and needed, because this is an absolutely enormous subject. If you've been through depression, you know that depression changes everything. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how you see your relationships. It changes how you see your past. And it changes how you see your future. So that's why we're out here in the woods, because this is the place to have this big conversation. We need room to roam, to explore these ideas. And we need your ideas. And we need your honesty, because we don't want to shy away from the challenges involved in building a life after depression. No one wants unicorns and rainbows. We want realistic hope. So I'm very excited about the topics that we have coming up. Things like the strange duality of depression, how it can both be something that brings us closer to death and helps us potentially appreciate life. Things like resolution, finding resolution. How can you find it when depression makes you question everything? Yourself, your future, your goals. Relationships and disconnection. I know from personal experience this topic. The depression pulls us away from other people. It makes us be convinced that we're unworthy of love. How can, in the face of all of that, you rebuild your relationships so they're warm and loving? And finally, learning from depression. Can we learn from it? And if so, what can we learn? So, I have to stop now, but it's obvious that we have so much to talk about. I hope you'll join us and follow along as we consider how to take horror and pain and turn it into positive life change.